All right, welcome back for another episode. This will be a quick one today from All We Do Is Talk Pod crew. You got me, Isaiah, here with Moody and Eric. What's up, y'all?
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on?
All right, so today we just want to talk about this one big topic that's sweeping the nation today, and it's the seceding of Texas and OU from the Big 12 with intentions to move to everyone's favorite football conference, the SEC. How y'all feel about it?
It seems like this was a matter of time. Like why? Like this is probably something that's been brewing for a while. And as we know, with the streaming numbers going up and the media packages getting bigger and bigger for these college programs, and with the attack on the NCAA and their individual money making profit because of players getting their own money, it makes a lot of sense that the NCAA would take this route. I think it's a good idea.
Well,
How
yeah,
about you, Eric?
I definitely think I don't think this will happen anytime soon. I mainly think Texas and OU did this just to big boy the Big 12 and get what they want until their contract's done. But I mean, yeah, I think it needs to happen. Getting bigger conferences and having more structure with where the big boys play, I guess, for like the actual national champion, would be better just so you can have more structure, so there's less like snubs, so you can have more like more like tiers, so like you know what you have to do. So like if you go to like bigger conferences of like four power conferences, you can pretty much guarantee each conference gets two if it's a 12, and you can also throw in mid-majors to also please that fan base to give them a shot at the title. I think this can please all. Now, I do think that includes Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame should go to the Big Ten to revive the Michigan rivalry, which I remember watching growing up, but also keeping the USC and Navy game every year. Go to the Big Ten. You also get to add Ohio State every year, which I think that would amp up their recruiting for being able to go into guys' houses and be like, we get to play Ohio State every year. And I think that will help recruiting and get them to even a better level. But as a whole, Big Ten, SEC, ACC, I would even see West Virginia moving from the Big 12 to the ACC. I think that's a more logical move for them anyway, regionally, like geographically. And the Pac-12 and the Big 12, kind of like a scatter of like Baylor, Texas Tech, like those join the Pac-12, and a lot of 12s, and kind of join these bigger conferences so you can be like, all right, you don't have to win the conference to get into the playoff. If you get to the championship, or I don't even know if it would be like just to the championship and you're in the playoff for those
Both
teams,
the
or
okay, both two teams that participate in the championship game get automatic bids in, or
yes.
maybe we even make that your first playoff round, or like find a way to
Well,
like
you can
finesse that into being like your
like
first
if
round
you
in
go to
playoffs.
12, if you go to 12, you can do like first four get a bye, and then the higher seeds. So like 5 through, I don't know what would be 5 and through 8 would get home playoff games, which I don't know if Bama and Ohio State might want to not have a bye so they can have the revenue for a home playoff game. Um, but like you could do like home like playoff games, and then you can get into like the bowl season like games where you go to the Cotton Bowl, but those don't matter anymore.
I think a
Um,
big benefit from this these super conferences would be the regular season for college football. You're going to get a
yeah,
lot more like good teams playing each other, not avoiding each other until the
yeah,
championship and then the college football playoff. You will get a lot more big time matchups between programs.
yeah. I mean, obviously, if you can get Texas and Alabama on the same field as many times as
Money,
possible, that's
money.
that's money, and the NCAA is not going to say no to that. Um,
I mean, I actually think I think it's going to be bad for college football in the end, because if Oklahoma and Texas are dipping out to go to the SEC, then it's gonna you already know how I feel about SEC bias. But if they have Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, LSU,
Texas is not
Georgia,
good. Texas is nowhere near
they're not
the
good.
college football.
They're not
playoff.
good.
They're gonna turn the recruiting around
They're-
to get to the SEC though.
They're not good now,
gonna
but
take years.
they're still a top 3, top 4 brand. The SEC in the end, the SEC will have 7 of the top 10 brands in the country: Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Texas, OU, and Ole Miss. When Ole Miss is good, they produce a really good team. So I mean, if they have
I mean,
7 of the top 10 brands, then
I definitely
It's
think
not gonna
they
be
would have
SEC.
to have a. They would have to have a cap. Like they would actually have to have like set forth a rule. Be like, okay, the cap you can have from one conference is 3. So like,
Yeah,
so you can
yeah.
get some,
So-
like so for like the SEC, you can
Yeah,
get
'cause
that one extra
you-
where it's the team that didn't make the playoff, but like they're going to be the 11 or 12 seed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
like you're probably gonna like if like for example BYU this past year, if there was a 12, they would have been a higher seed than I don't know Georgia probably because did Georgia make the championship last year? The SEC championship?
no,
it was
no,
Florida.
no, wait, no.
It was
It
Florida.
was Florida.
Yeah, it was Kyle Pitts and Trask
Kyle
and
Trask.
all that.
Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
So like Georgia might have been put in as like a 12 seed, while BYU would have been put in as like an 8 seed or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they put a cap, definitely. But I could easily see it because that's the other thing. If they're gonna realign the conferences, they're gonna have to make sure that when they expand the college football playoffs, they just aren't expanding it to put.
All right, so we haven't
Success.
talked about that. What do y'all think about the college football playoff possible I guess they said it's basically done at this point. Expansion.
That's why this Oklahoma and Texas stuff is coming out because they're
Yeah.
pretty sure it's it's happening.
I think 12 is like the most you can
12's
do.
excessive.
12's too many to me.
12's excessive, but like
12's too,
if they go to 8, they're gonna be like if people like it, they're gonna be like, all right, might as well go to 12. So
Well,
let's
that's the
just
thing.
go
So-
to 12. Let's just go to 12 and see what it's like and rein it back from there. You know what I
Someone's
mean?
But
gotta
what's
someone's gotta
stopping-
make the strong
No.
decisions.
I'm not gonna say no to more college football, bro. I'm not gonna
The
say
problem is
no.
you know the scheduling is conflicting because you can't just add rounds because then you bring the season. It gets into exam season because these are still college athletes.
Yeah.
You get paid now. If you're making the playoff and you're a quarterback or any position, you're making money. So okay, I think they can get around exams. Nick Saban can get people out of exams.
That's
Exams was the wrong path to take.
but I'm just saying the scheduling, and then also
Yeah.
they're not going to want to run into like conflicting with the NFL playoffs. Like college football backs out of the way as the football season declines into
think-
like
So
NFL
do you get rid
playoffs.
of the conference, the championship week?
What are you?
I mean-
what are you conflicting? Like, what are you conflicting
I
with
mean,
the NFL schedule?
no.
You conflict with the NFL schedule all year.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, when is the college football playoffs? The semifinal games during New Year's
Like-
Eve,
Yeah, New Year's. New Year's.
and isn't the college football championship game usually before the first week of NFL playoffs?
Yeah.
It's like
So
the
they get
first, it's like the first week.
you can conflict with some wild card games when the yearly Houston Texans Cincinnati Bengals ESPN game used to be on Saturday, but I mean you're gonna have to figure out they're gonna figure out the schedule for sure. I'm just saying now I would have gone with 8 because back then I thought they would have 5 power conferences. I'm going one conference winner and 3 at large bids, capping everybody at 2. But if they're gonna break it in, that brings us to the next question. So can this Big 12 really survive if they don't have Texas and Oklahoma, the two
No.
teams that created the
No, how
conference?
can
Yeah, this.
No,
What?
listen, Ham. No, how can they? Those
I told-
are
I'll-
two top 10 brands, including one top 3 brand, not just in college football in the country. Like everyone knows Texas, and like Oklahoma's gotten gigantic over their big Heisman quarterback run. There's just if they lose Texas and OU, they should be thinking about how they can merge with somebody else.
I think
Because
this is strictly football because
no,
I think-
they're gonna
No,
it'll be
it's
the
just
other
all.
programs too.
No,
It's
no,
all the
I
sports.
know it would. I know it would include all of them, but I'm just saying, like the hit, like the like performance, it drops like only in football because you still have Baylor, Kansas, Texas Tech, who are they're still great at basketball. West Virginia is still good at basketball. Like they're schools that still make money in other sports. So like Texas and OU
And th-
are obviously the big money makers, and they're like their best football. But that's like really the only like sport where they're really losing anything.
and so
But that's the
so
sport that matters
Oh,
significantly.
absolutely.
Matters significantly more than everybody else
Oh,
by
absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
combined. It's
Absolutely.
I
like
will say they might survive because Kansas does have a giant basketball
They're a
program,
blue chip.
and that's the type of program that can carry you. Oklahoma State has a decent program.
Baylor just
I
won the
mean,
Natty.
but yeah, but in the end, their best hope would be like I was telling you guys earlier that if they can get a Houston, a Boise State, a BYU to join the Big 12 now. That's not Oklahoma and Texas, but BYU just put a quarterback who was top. He was top 2 in the draft. They have a decent program.
yeah, BYU got a lot of stock in that guy becoming good because if he flames out, that's going to be a big problem for BYU.
They might as well jump on that hype now. I mean,
Well,
you got some teams you could try to go get back Nebraska because
no,
Nebraska's
I
just
think this conference thing as a whole is good because you can it's a reset. Like because like there are obviously got some schools that have had Power 5 chances that haven't produced, and there's been mid majors that have picked it up that deserve a chance. That I think there should be a little recycle of the bottom Power 5 and the top mid majors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
now.
Get Cincinnati in the ACC. Like see what they can do in like a 5-year span in the ACC.
Where are they at right now?
They're in the American Conference.
AAC? Yeah, the AAC.
Yeah, they're in the American Conference. So
But
they play like Memphis, UCF, SMU, Houston.
You got teams like
tier 2.
Right, yeah, but like that's also they have an explosive and to play in that conference you have to have an explosive offense. Like you're putting up 40 a game.
I mean, there's also a Louisiana Tech, who I think is a really good up and coming program.
They're Conference USA, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. So you could pick that's so if the Big 12 is smart, they'd be trying to pick out the next big few programs. Like I'm surprised Boise State should be on the phone with them right now. Like almost Houston,
like
they fell off a little, but
Liberty as an independent pick, like their football program is starting to get pumped up. So like they might go from independent to a mid major. You know what I mean? Like they might want to go into like the American Conference or Conference USA or something like that to jump up. You know what I mean?
Now we played the Big 12 trying to save the South side, but let's flip on to what would be even more interesting. If you're these other conferences, who you want for the Big 12? And if you're the Pac-12 or Big 10, who are you feeding to get into your conference? I mean, you got to be looking right at.
I think the Pac-12's got to be praying for like Texas Tech or Baylor, one of those like historically run and gun air raid type of teams, because I think that fits their conference style and it would give them more brand name to their conference. That's probably the biggest one after.
I think you're forgetting TCU is also another good option. TCU. So they have Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, TCU, which have good programs in football and basketball, and then the other one is Kansas, who has one of the worst college football programs, but they have that excellent.
Kansas's football team isn't making that decision for them. It's basketball. So that's going to be the interesting thing is who recruits from the basketball Kansas program. Does the SEC do it? They could use a big boost in their college basketball program.
Kansas and Kentucky.
Powerhouse ACC just go and snags them right away. Like there's a lot. I think the basketball program for Kansas makes that call.
I think Kansas would go Pac-12 because
they want to avoid that conference.
I think the conference. I think UCLA Kansas games would be insane just from brand. You know what I mean?
But let's be real. Kansas versus Kentucky. Kansas versus Kentucky.
But you also
Kansas
have,
versus
I think
UNC and Duke.
Pac-12 is deeper than the SEC in basketball. I think.
But I think the
has
ACC
brand name.
I think the ACC would Kansas and the ACC. That's actually a really good one because to add them with Duke and UNC, and Virginia Tech. That's really good. That'd be really good stuff too.
I don't think ACC can add Kansas. I think they already have ACC.
I think they have to go to the SEC to split up the blue bloods. You can't have can't have like 75% of them in one conference.
Like the ACC, like I want Notre Dame to go to the Big Ten, but I think if they're probably going to go to the ACC. If like Notre Dame is in there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They already have 15 people like teams, and like I think if you want 4, the way we've been talking, you need 16. So I think they have room to add 1 more, and I think they're probably going to weigh West Virginia out of the Pac-12. I think that one's the most logical because I think West Virginia can come into the ACC and be middle of the pack. Like they'll be better than Syracuse, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, Georgia State, Wake Forest, and UVA. Like they'll finish at least mid-tier.
But I mean, if they could go for West Virginia, but not I forgot about Virginia Tech and UVA, but Kansas with UVA and UNC and Duke. That's a lot. I didn't even think about that opportunity, but to get Kansas in the ACC with Miami and Florida State.
Yeah, I'm sure the ACC will try to make that happen. I just don't know how everybody else is going to feel about it.
So I think that leaves the Big Ten because this was actually the second time this happened in our life. I don't know if a lot of people who are listening remember the days of the Big East.
Big East?
Which, I mean, when Kemba Walker won the national championship for UConn, the Big East, that was it on its last legs.
Big East. That was prime. The Big East was putting in like 7, 8 teams into the tournament every year.
Didn't Monty Williams coach up that UConn team?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. I think the coach that won it with the Shabazz Napier.
It was that older coach. That's been on forever.
Yeah, his last year.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might be a different guy. Anyway.
I mean, the SEC getting Texas and OU, that's just wow. Football-wise, I mean, I'm happy. I like the idea because LSU versus Texas, that rivalry is going to be crazy. We remember the Joe Burrow game against Sam Elgin a few years. That's going to be a crazy rivalry, and Texas is going to use I feel sorry for Texas A&M because they were 10 years early to the party, and
I feel sorry for Georgia and Florida because once you bring in Texas and OU, you have to push Bama
to the East
division. So now you have to play Bama every year instead of every other year, and Texas and OU get put in the West.
They can put Auburn in the East. Isn't Auburn? I don't know where they are in those cities located in Alabama, but I don't.
They're right here. It's not that.
Yeah, but
so I mean,
the SEC will still rather want Alabama versus Georgia, Alabama versus Florida every year over.
And
Alabama, Texas, man. Alabama, Texas is money.
The problem is they might have
money, and
the problem is they can't break up Alabama and Auburn, so they might suck up and just be send Mississippi State or Ole Miss. Oh wait, no, it's gonna be Mississippi or Ole Miss, and then fuck your graph.
Mississippi State,
because if you send Alabama to the East, no, you're not breaking up Alabama versus Auburn and Iron Bowl, which is my pick for biggest rivalry in all of sports. I'm not a big college football fan like that, and I still tune in to watch that game every year. But LSU versus Texas, that's.
Do you think anyone's dropping out of the SEC?
Oh, if they really want Kansas to be with Kentucky basketball wise, they could really easily toss Vanderbilt out of there.
No, that's not baseball. They're not throwing Vandy out.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, Vanderbilt is really good for baseball. I mean, how about
don't matter when it comes to
actually, Vanderbilt's
Vanderbilt's the best baseball conference, but
Vanderbilt's baseball. I was reading that Vanderbilt's baseball power is really a big deal in the SEC. So They got South Carolina and
Van-
Arkansas. I don't really know.
Vanderbilt baseball makes money. Vanderbilt baseball
Yeah.
makes money.
Does it make Kansas blue money?
It might because they win championships often, and Kansas really hasn't been Kansas since Mario Chalmers beat Derrick
Yeah,
Rose.
I would say this past year, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Florida all probably sold out 95% of their weekend games.
But damn, that's gonna be tough because I didn't even think they have to realign because Oklahoma and Texas. But yeah, and then Oklahoma versus Alabama and LSU is gonna be pretty interesting.
And you probably wouldn't put them in the same division because you probably want both of them in the playoff. So you'll put
But
them
unfortunately,
in
yeah,
divisions.
you know they're not gonna want to break up that rivalry. They're gonna want that's the other. If the SEC gets Oklahoma and Texas,
They'll probably drop like Kentucky. No, not Kentucky.
they'll want to make it fair. They'll have to make it fair, but like SEC would have the Iron Bowl. They have the Iron Bowl and the Red River rivalry. That's wow.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
that's branding. Like that's the only downside to this is if sooner or later it'll just be like, is everybody going to join the SEC? And will NCAA just be the SEC? Luckily for other sports like the ACC, they have strong college basketball programs. But I think the biggest losers is really probably going to be the Big Ten because I don't know who they could get because the Pac-12, the Pac-12 can.
The Big Ten has to push hard for Notre Dame. ACC is definitely the heavy favorite for them, but if the Big Ten wants to make serious noise, they have to go after Notre Dame. They have to.
I was just reading today that Notre Dame has such strong ties to ACC. It's just they're going to get first dibs in it for the next 3 years.
In my opinion, Notre Dame's going to the ACC.
I forgot that they played in the ACC last year. They played in the ACC last year. Notre Dame did. So, man, I would like to see Notre Dame in the Big Ten, though. I'm not going to lie. That looks really enticing.
Because with the fall of Michigan and Michigan State, the Big Ten's only Ohio State and sometimes Penn State. Like there hasn't been a whole lot of
Wisconsin's put on some good team.
But like Notre Dame's like hockey is Big Ten. Like they have some sports that are in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's why I'm so worried with Notre Dame. I mean, I think they have the roads to the ACC, but if this gets, I mean, until this week, I didn't think Texas and Oklahoma were going to just sneak out the back door and join the SEC, which is really how this has happened. It just came out like, this was probably in the works when they found out about the college football playoff expansion. And in the end, it's going to turn out that Big 12 is the only big Power 5 that doesn't have its own network, and that's going to cost it. I mean, Oklahoma State, they got some team. I mean, if they add BYU, Houston, and Boise State, like the Big 12 won't be big, but this probably we got another Big East situation.
Who are you watching in the Big 12 if that's the conference?
When Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech, I watched a couple of Patrick Mahomes games. He was great against Baker Mayfield.
So they had a hope for the best QB prospect in the last 20 years to just happen to be playing for their team?
I used to watch the Oklahoma State games through the Des Bryant era into the Mason Rudolph era.
Who was they playing when you watched them?
Texas, Oklahoma. And even back then, they used to play Texas A&M because A&M was back then. That was in the Big 12. Baylor with RG3. Wow. TCU with the Red Rifle. Andy Dalton.
They won a Rose Bowl.
They won the Rose Bowl against Russell Wilson's Wisconsin. So some of these Big 12, they're not now. None of them are Oklahoma and Texas, which is the biggest problem. They're going to lose the two biggest brands in probably that area of football, and they're just going to go join the biggest conference
in the country. Yeah, by far.
So, I mean, they got TCU, and now Kansas State used to have some good runs. Kansas State used to be an enjoyable program to watch. They haven't made noise in a while. Baylor had that big scandal, but like they got their basketball might save them. In the end, the basketball might save the Big 12. But man, it's losing Oklahoma and Texas. That's just gonna be hard for them. It's gonna be hard. Anything else, or y'all want to add?
What'd you say?
Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think I'm good. This looks like definitely the fall of the Big 12. That's what my forecast is. We won't see any more Big 12 as we're probably gonna have four gigantic conferences with everybody, and we'll see how it happens.
Eric, any predictions for Notre Dame?
For this coming up year?
No, for like conference future.
Oh, I think they're going to go the ACC, but I want them to go Big Ten.
No. I'm torn on that one because the ACC's been so.
I would love.
The ACC's been so torn. Like if Miami and Florida State would step it up, and Virginia Tech, those were the teams that were really big in the ACC when we were younger. If they would step up their programs to like compete with Clemson, that'd make the ACC. But I don't really know how strong the ACC is really because they got Clemson, but really it's just Clemson. It's got Clemson in the name.
Tech and UVA this year.
Who?
They played twice in Virginia.
Oh, I might have to go see one of those games. Too bad Trevor Lawrence isn't on those teams. But I guess we'll wrap it up for there. I like what he said. If I had to pick, I'm probably going to say that it's probably the Big 12. They'll try to fight, and they might survive for the first 2 to 3 years, but they'll be joining the Big East and the former added to their title for their conference, the former Big 12. Well, that's it for today. Y'all take it easy, all right?
All right, man.
So.